Hello. Today's April 30th, 2024. Today, I just kind of want to ask a simple yet very deep and complex question. Has philosophy gone too scientific? Is philosophy too scientific at this current stage? Um, as with most journals, let me let me explain. So this past weekend, I gave a presentation at a philosophy conference. If you've been watching the journals, you definitely know about this. But if you're new to the channel, that's what happened this past weekend, and it was a fun experience. I'll talk about that later. But what really struck me is that not even were most people there like into analytic philosophy, but they were mostly into philosophy of science. And I know that one presentation doesn't, or one conference doesn't mean that everyone in philosophy is into philosophy of science, but I definitely think that when we think of philosophy today, there's a lot of this going on. And it's not even that it's necessarily bad. I just think that, if you're going to have a keynote speech about philosophy and it's essentially a physics presentation, then you know what's going on anymore. Because physics is a science. It's a physical science. That's why it's called physics. And it's not that philosophy can't be interested in the physical. A lot of time it is. One of like the biggest questions is like physical matter and whether or not that exists. If you're Barkley, then no, and if you're other people too, then no. But you get what I'm saying here, I hope. And so my presentation was about Hume's empiricism as serving as sort of a launch pad for absurdism. And really, all you really need to know is that there are skeptical worries about causality, and because of that, I think that sort of adds some credence to the absurd world. Like, I think it becomes a matter of, causality isn't a given, and so what we're doing here is really absurd, and that's the very, very basics of my presentation. And I understand that there'd be pushback from a scientific vantage point, but I don't know. I think philosophy should be questions like who are we, what are we doing here, and and those sorts of things. I think you can sort of fill in the gaps there. I don't know. I have a tough time comprehending philosophy of science, just like that concept as it is. I understand that like there can be theoretical physicists, but isn't that just what they are? They're not philosophers of science. Obviously there's some ethical concerns in science, and that's where philosophy can go scientific, if you want to put it that way. But like, I don't know. If you're gonna talk about quantum mechanics and general relativity, like this is science. It's not philosophy. And so I'm kind of having this this argument in my head quite a bit. It's like, what even is philosophy? And then it's like, okay, should we talk about philosophy of philosophy? Which I think I have seen that that's a thing out there, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I know that there are some people that have studied philosophy that watch, which is pretty cool. I'm glad that I've captured that audience. That actually makes me very, very happy. But yeah, I was just using this journal to talk about the presentation. Besides that, which, at the end of the day, it's not a super big deal. Like, whatever. I guess, I can only do my part the way that I think I should do it, and that's that. But in terms of the rest of it, I thought my presentation went well. Doing videos for a long time definitely helped in some regards. Being able to talk about complex topics, because not everyone does that every day. And I met some cool people, some people that didn't go to my school. And then I, officially met some people that did go to my school, which was also very cool. And a few of them are even in some of my classes. So that was nice. Um, yeah, the keynote speaker was Tim Maudlin. If any of you know who that is, I think he's an NYU professor. And I don't know, I'm just stuck. I feel like that could really anger a lot of people when I talk about philosophy of science. Because analytic philosophy isn't, you know, in terms of like breaking down argumentation and doing logic, like I understand that as being a part of philosophy, but I don't know. Questions about matter and motion, it starts to become a slippery slope fast because, like, yes, questions about matter and motion are philosophical. And I also understand that the history of philosophy has like very strong roots in science, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the part of philosophy I like virtue and things like this. like utilitarianism, consequentialism, all of that sort of thing. I don't know. Epistemology as well. There's so many different splinters. And I think at the end of the day, I was kind of hoping that I would meet like a bunch of existentialists and stuff like that. I did meet a few socialists and Marxists, so that was nice. But I think that was my hope, and I need to remember that in every single group, there are people that have become rigid and very certain in their ways, and you know, even the people we have high hopes for, that's the case a good chunk of the time. But yeah, that was the presentation. That was the conference. Today, I've just cleaned houses and went to the gym, and now I'm about to head off to work. Someone I know asked me to write a recommendation letter for them, so that was pretty cool. It's like, wow, I didn't. I'm only 22, but sure, I will do it for you. That's about all. I'm starting to stress out quite a bit because I've got to write 5 papers over the next 2 weeks, more or less. 2 of them are only like 3 to 4 pages, so four papers, or even 3 papers if you want to put it that way. Total, it's probably like 30 pages, so 3 papers, more or less. Some people might be used to writing a 30-page paper alone, which, that takes 2 weeks to write. So, yeah. That's all I've got. Hope y'all are having a good, beginning to your week, and hope it continues. Peace and love.